Ladies and gentlemen, welcome episode 23, Check the Wire podcast. Myself, Dan Giesing, Ryan, Gary, Anthony Letourneau. What's going on, man?
Not too much. How's it going with you?
Good. We're going a little bit early today. I appreciate you dialing in and adjusting the schedule. What did you have to slide around? Anything?
Like, I don't know. Typically, I would record a lot in the morning, but I was like, I'll stream snipe Dan and Mahjong. And then that game ended up being like the longest Mahjong game I've ever played in my entire life. So then I just took a shower and now I'm here.
Oh, good eats. What was the highlight of the weekend?
The highlight of the weekend. I mean, on Saturday, we went to our in-laws' place and had a nice, I taught Kate's mom English. Kate's mom taught Kate violin and, just kind of hung out there, which was nice, and did a baby shopping. But, that's about it. It was pretty low-key.
So you taught Kate's mom English.
Right.
Kate's mom taught her some music.
Right.
What did Kate's mom teach you?
Nothing. And we're supposed to be doing like a little language exchange, but it would take a long time on Saturdays. Like, we were already there for like 4 hours. So instead I just sat on the couch and looked at my phone. I was like, this is good.
Do you get to a point like with in-lawicity, not to like put you on the spot, where you're like, I filled the bucket's been filled up, it's time to go? Or can you just hang out there all hours of the day? Not to put you on blast.
No, it's kind of weird because like Kate's parents don't speak English like regularly. Like 98% of their communication is in Korean. So I'm kind of just like, I'm like a spectator when I go over, which in its own way is actually kind of nice because it means like I'm just hanging out. Nobody expects me to actively be a part of the conversation. I could just I can look at my phone, I can watch TV, I could take a nap. There's no pressure.
Did you ever pull like a 90-day and talk into the phone and have it live translate?
No, but sometimes if like I think they're talking about stuff that's interesting, I will do the Google Translate and just kind of like hold it up and then see what they're saying, and then I'm like, okay.
That's cool. But what gives you non-verbally the cue that something's interesting? Like people,
it's like one of the 100 Korean words I know. If I hear like, my name, then I'm like, yeah, okay, let's see what they're saying right here.
Have you ever just in the middle of a conversation just yell "Takcho"? Have you ever done that?
I would never tell my in-laws to shut up or to sit down or any of the teacher phrases I learned.
All right. Well, from that's interesting though. Do you feel like you can communicate to them though by any means necessary? Like, do you feel like if you got a message, you can get it across?
Oh yeah, they understand English. We could talk in English. We just don't. It's weird too, because like, I don't know, people in chat probably have like the similar, if they're in a similar situation, they could probably relate. But like it's Kate's parents and their daughter, and they would normally speak Korean if I were not there. So it's weird for me to come in and be like, now all of you should speak English at all times to be polite.
Is there any part of you like, do you think you'll ever learn?
Like maybe my new like philosophy, or at least hope, is like that when Kate is teaching our daughter Korean, I'll be able to pick up enough to be a little bit more conversational.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm kind of at the point where like like when Kate's mom is speaking Korean, if she says like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah." Nay, I am hungry.
Okay.
저는 배고파. And then everybody goes, "Oh." But the truth is, that's my secret. I'm always hungry.
That's cool. So you'll kind of sit in. There'll be two students in Kate's Korean class when she teaches it.
Exactly.
That's cool. So from good eats on the weekend to you had a pretty big trailer announcement that came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna loop that in and make that my dub of the week.
Okay.
So like for anybody that's not familiar, we announced, well, really like the developer of the game announced that Kate and I are going to be doing the voice acting for the sports commentators at the very end, the final missions of Cook Serve Delicious 3, which is really exciting because we've been playing Cook Serve Delicious. I think I played Cook Serve Delicious, the first one, back in probably like 2012 or early 2013. So we played Cook Serve Delicious 2 as well. And then 3 we've been playing for a while, but really like this all came together. I think we got the email from David, who was the developer, back in like January or February. That was like, you guys want to be a part of this like project? We'll write the script and everything, and all you guys have to do is do the voice acting. And then it kind of ran into bumps in the road because of Corona. Originally, they were going to come down here and we were going to rent a little studio time and record it in studio, but instead we did it over Discord, and it turned out very well, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
Was for you, have you been in any games before? Have you done any VA work?
I have not, no. And I think it would honestly take like a project like this. Like, first, I should disclose, like, we were paid for it. It wasn't a free gig, for one. But secondarily, it's a franchise like we both really, really like. And we have a personal relationship with the developer as well. So it wasn't really like it was a favor, because it was, transactional. But it was also like, I feel good about this. It's not just like I got cold emailed from, a studio I've never heard of that's like, we'd really like you to be in our game. Because I don't know, sometimes maybe you've had it. Like sometimes there will be, back in the day, there would be like devs that would do a Kickstarter, and they would be like, hey, can we put like, we're going to make like a character model for you and put it in the game. And you're kind of like, I feel like maybe you're sort of using my brand to maybe get some extra money out of this. And like, it looks nice, but at the same time, I worry that it's, it's more of an ego thing, plus a marketing thing for the devs, I guess, rather than being like a natural fit.
So for someone that's never done any VA stuff, like it's just a script and you just read it and they're like, okay, do it again, or put a little more inflection, or like, what was that process like?
Yeah, so David was there, but also like the two writers of the script were there. So we had like, I don't know, maybe like 20 pages of lines for different
20
situations.
Pages?
Oh yeah, it took us like maybe 5 hours to do all the lines. So what happened is like, we would read the lines, and it's been a while since I did any acting, maybe since like 6th or 7th grade. But, it comes back kind of naturally, I think. And really, like, I was happy that the writers were there, because you would do like your first read of the line and they'd be like, hey, that's good. Or they would be like, can you be like more excited, which is something that I struggle with all the time. Or like, could you put more like emphasis on this? Could you act like less like you're disappointed and more like you're angry? And then, you get what they're going for. And via that coaching, I think we were able to get to something that's hopefully pretty decent.
So it took 5 hours.
Yeah.
So you sat down for 5 hours, you and Kate, and like just went back and forth over Discord.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's real work. It's not like, no disrespect. Well, you wouldn't spend like 10 minutes. Oh, here's a couple lines for the trailer, and we'll move it.
Yeah, we took half of a Friday off to get it done, which is another thing that I think like is exciting, or like it's kind of like the dub of the week, is that historically I've been pretty hesitant to do projects that are outside of work, just because I'm so busy with the work itself that anything that piles on top of that is like, it really pinches me for weeks. But this time I was like, this would be a cool thing to be a part of. So we made the time to do it, and honestly, like I'm very glad we did. It was I have to note, it wasn't like we were doing it just out of the goodness of our heart, but at the same time, I was like, Isaac and Monster Train, they can have 2 less videos in the backlog. Who cares? I could, we can make that up whenever.
So what was like the downtime from like, so you recorded on a Friday, and then when did the trailer come out?
So like the trailer took maybe like a week and a half to put together. So it was pretty quick. And then, David and I just talked, and we're like, cause he wanted to premiere it like on our stream. So I was like, what day would work the best? And I'm like, I feel like Monday is really chaotic, because it's a late NLSS and it's like high energy right out of the gate. And then Tuesday is like, Unity is kind of its own thing. I don't want to mess with that too much. We could have done it on Wednesday, but because Thursday's a solo stream, it really seemed like that was the time where I could put my own personal project up there. So then we premiered it on Thursday, maybe like a week after it was made, and here we are.
So having gone through the experience, is that something like, say that another company, let's say of like, I don't know, like Equal Prowess, like a game that you like, right, or a reputable, they came and be like, hey, you want to do another 20 pages? Is that something you could see yourself doing again?
Yeah. I think if the project was right, Like, I don't want to be a voice actor. And I think like it might sound like it's disrespectful, but it's actually the opposite. Like I think a lot of streamers are like they think that being a voice actor is just they're already doing it, right? So all the it's just a natural pivot. But I think it actually is a lot of work. Like I think it's work and practice and craft and like Bear Taffy. When I hear his voice work, I'm like he's doing a great job. Not just because he has a naturally nice voice, but because he's practiced it. So I think if it was a game that is like it has to be the perfect storm like this, you probably have to pay me, and then it has to be like a project that I'm already probably interested in, because it's less like I'm doing it for the money or to boost my personal brand, and more like this is a cool kind of like partnership that we can do with our overlapping audiences.
Do you think that you'll get any sauce or you think there'll be any ancillary benefits from just being in it? Even though you didn't look at it that way, can you?
Yeah. No, I don't think so, honestly. Not to be insulting, but like, the game is very popular, but like how many people are actually going to make it to the end? And then what percentage of those people are going to like the VO enough to be like, I'm going to look these people up. So I really don't look at it as like a promotional thing. I think it's more of like, I mean, we've talked about it before. It's less like your, like the charity stream that we did for Warzone, right? The odds of people watching that and being like, I'm going to watch these people, even though we tried to put on as much of a show as possible for that to happen, is pretty low. You're going to filter out, or you're going to only get a small amount of people filtering in. But for the people that already watch you, it's a great, piece of like, it's value added for them where they can get extra enjoyment out of it.
I'm with you. I'll give you credit. The only experience I have with anything like that is, and I only did it one time. I went like the local CBS affiliates, like, hey, will you come shoot some promos to like hype up a new season? I'm like, sure, it'll be easy. I'll just go on there and like talk, But no, it's like, hey, we need you to look at the cameras, use your voice this way. I'm like, like this is supposed to be like 10-15 minutes, and it's like hours for like a couple lines. So that's why I'm looking at you like doing 5 hours of work. Like that's 5 hours of work, and it's, I mean, part of it too. I mean, I know it sounds like you're friendly with the devs, but you're taking direction, and like essentially you're doing something. They're like, hey, that's not good enough. I know they're not saying it in that words, but it's like, it sounds like a completely different creative process than what you and I are used to. It's like you record it, and the only thing you have to deal with is comments.
Yeah, like I mean, I wouldn't say it took getting used to, but it was just trying to think about like, this is not me putting my sauce on the voice acting. Is me like, they wrote it, they want it said, they imagine it in a particular way. And if my natural reading is like more than what they originally wanted, then that's great. But if they're like, that's cool, but please read it like this instead, then, that's what you got to do.
Do you have any funny, like anything that came out anything memorable that came out for you, or like, oh, I really killed this one, or at like, they told you to tone it down, or was it more like tone it up?
It was always tone it up.
Really? Really?
Yeah. 100% of the time it was tone it up. I feel like when you have a deep voice, you got to struggle to like seem excited. Like even internally when I'm excited, people are like, you sound kind of like flat. And then the other one is like, if you get excited, people think you're mad. People think you're upset unless you raise the pitch of your voice a lot, I think.
Well, just tell them to tune in Tuesday nights when you get a Warzone victory and you get a couple headshots at the end. So that's cool. And then plus I imagine it's also like amazing to be able to do that with your wife. You're both in the game.
Yeah.
And you can like, hey, for Christmas one year, you can get the hard copy and give it to your daughter and be like, hey, we're in this game.
That's true.
But
and then hopefully give her a save so that she can get 35 hours in and see it.
So that's cool. So in the past, like when it comes to that kind of stuff, have you just said like flat out no, or you just don't respond?
Yeah, I don't respond. But I mean, you know what? I'll drop a breadcrumb here about something that we could talk about in a future Check the Wire.
Yeah.
I really think you don't have to respond to cold emails about business stuff. I don't consider it impolite to not respond. Now, you could take that to the extreme. Like if you have an acquaintance or a previous relationship with the company and they email you like, hey, it would be cool if we worked on this, I think you should get back to them with a yes or a no. But if somebody you've never worked with in the past writes you an essay about like, hey, I'd like to work with you on this, I don't think you owe them an email in reply. You might get 100 of those a day if you're a huge YouTube channel.
So
you're supposed to hire a professional person that just says no to emails that come in. It seems insane to me.
So you just do and delete? You just delete them all?
I just leave it there forever.
You don't delete any emails?
No, because I never know if I'm going to, I mean, I don't think I would need them in the future, but you know, we have different philosophies on our emails.
Well, what about when Markiplier emailed you?
It's still there. Yeah.
That's
one day, you know, I could reply to it now and be like, hey, sorry I missed this. I was going through my inbox and I got back to 2013 and you still up for this?
All right. So that's a pretty big W. And then when does that come out? So for people that are listening that want to, it's DLC. Is it they have to buy it, or is it just
So it's part of the Cook Serve Delicious 3 base game.
Oh, cool.
The caveat is that it's the final section of the game, so you have to get to the end in order to experience it.
Got it.
So the you know, you can say that's a downside, but really it's a bright side. Cook Serve Delicious 3 is also a very great game.
Okay, to put you on the spot, are you to the point in the game where you can access it?
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh,
we probably, Kate and I have played like maybe, I would say like 10 hours on her stream. So we got like a long way to go to get there. He'll probably give us a save that we can use to get there as well. But you know, over time we would get there for sure. But it's not available yet. I think the update, I don't think it has a release date, but it's planned to come out in late July. But because you know, this is you know, the other part of my role is marketing it as a result of being part of the project. So let me see if there's a release date for it. Well, there's a preview. Oh, and I can't wait until it goes live late this month. Yeah, late July sometime.
Okay, late July. So a couple. I mean, we're almost finished with July. So a couple.
We
weeks.
Are.
Well, that's what I came in, and it was rare, but I came into your show. You played it on Friday, and it said trailer / whatever Dark Souls 2. I'm like, yeah. And I come in like a smart aleck, like, hey, were you paid for the trailer? Because I didn't see it. But it was so because normally it's bounty trailer, and then it was ignored in the wash. But then everyone, you know, takes from there. But I think from a business standpoint, I mean, let me dissect the move from a business standpoint, because it's so you have a pre-existing relationship. It's good for them because they're getting a laser focused distribution, right? Like people that watch you and Kate watch you both play it. That's I would imagine, I don't want to put, not to disparage it, I imagine you guys are probably the biggest stream that's played it together, I would imagine.
Possibly, yeah. So I can't say for certain, but possibly. But
I mean, I think it's smart for their end, but I think it sounds like it's good for everyone all around. I look at all that. I try to look at okay, hey, who's it good for? And it seemed like it's good for you, it's good for Kate, it's good for them, it's good for the game, it's good for your community. There really doesn't seem like was there any downside or anything you would change about the deal?
Not at all. I think it would have been nice to do it locally, but I mean, it would also cost them money to fly to Vancouver and rent the studio. Plus they can't do it anyway because of Corona. So in a perfect world, maybe, but I think this worked out pretty well. The only downside is a lot of work, but whatever.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff is a lot of work.
What was your L of the week?
L of the week. It's tough. I felt like it was a pretty solid week overall. This is the first time that nothing really comes up for me, honestly.
It must just filled with W's. W's pogged right from the sky.
It doesn't mean it was a perfect week, but I'm scrolling through and I'm I had a good balance with free time and work. I got a lot of work done. The Golden Goblet went well. Unity was good. Oh, you know what? That's a good steal from chat for sure. So this is very operational. So it's probably a little bit on the not people who are not content creators will care at all. But so YouTube rolled out a new mid-roll functionality a couple weeks ago, and you had to opt out unless you wanted their machine learning algorithm to put 8 mid-rolls on every single video that you make. So I opted out, and it works great. Or it works the way it used to and is supposed to. But now the stuff that I export from Twitch, when I monetize it, I have no control over the monetization settings anymore. All I can do is toggle it on and off. So off is no ads, so the video doesn't make any money. And on is pre-rolls and machine learning selected mid-roll ad breaks. So I posted one just to see what it was like. This is like last week's Monday Unity VOD, and people were like, "What's up with all the ad breaks in the video?" I looked at it. It's like a 30-minute video, and there's 7 or 8 ads. There's an ad like every 3 minutes in the video, and I'm like, "This is absurd." So for like a couple of weeks of that stuff, I just unmonetized them because it's just ridiculous. Like I would rather people watch it and enjoy it, because the problem, like, if we're being honest, like probably 80% of the people watching it use ad block anyway. So you're punishing that 20% of the audience that is like doing it the right way, the way that you would want them to do it at least. And you're like forcing that small group of noble people to suffer. So it just doesn't feel good. So I turned off the monetization on that. But the L is that I had to come up with a new workflow. So the new workflow is like, I'm recording everything that I stream locally, and then instead of splitting it into 7 videos, I'm just publishing it like 24 hours or 48 hours after the stream, and then putting like a mid-roll every half hour. So instead of getting 7 videos with 8 mid-rolls each, you get 1 video with like 5 mid-rolls that's 7 times longer.
It'll be interesting to get DAE analytical with, just to see how the performance is different. Do you have any inferences or predictions as to how the chunk VOD is going to work versus the chopped up one?
I think it's going to be a positive change for the viewer, because you lose the routine, which we're both a big fan of, as we talked about. Like I like having something every day that people will come back for, but it is kind of like artificially gating the content. The 3 hours of content that you had was made on Tuesday, and it doesn't all go up until like, the following Monday or something. So I think it's a better setup for the viewer. I think it'll probably cut into the bottom line a little bit, and this is just a hunch, but I'm like, I feel like the pre-rolls are the most profitable ads. So instead of having 7 videos, which means 7 pre-rolls, you have 1 video, which is 1 pre-roll, and then like 6 or 7 mid-rolls, right? But I also think that it's not going to matter too much. Those videos are not like, they only make up a significant chunk en masse when you have like a significant chunk of revenue en masse. And then the other thing is that it'll save me per stream. It'll probably save me like half an hour. So there's another, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 hours a week that get deposited back into my pocket, because I don't have to bother splitting them. And then every single video needs maybe its own thumbnail, and, et cetera, et cetera. And then even replying to comments, instead of having to reply to 7 videos worth of comments, you only have 1 video's worth of comments. So admittedly, it'll have more comments, but you only read like the first, 50 or 100 in all likelihood anyway. So
just the ones that get upvoted.
Exactly. You wait for the community to choose the best ones, and then you reply.
So, I mean, let's say like 2 months from now, you're still doing that. Do you think you'll compare and be like, hey, this is a better way to do it? Or with the, impending life change coming in October, do you think you'll be like, hey, this is a lot less work. It may like reduce my bottom line by 18%, but that 18% is worth it? Or is it wait and see?
Ideally, I would like to go back to the old way. So I'll probably check in now and then, because I think it's just a bug on the YouTube side as they work this stuff through. But I mean, I think it's fine. Like the alternative is, if I wanna, I'm not willing to do what I need to do to post 7 from one stream locally. Like I'm not willing to record it locally, manually split it in my editor, render 3 hours of video, which will take like 2 hours or 3 hours to render. Like it just adds way, way, way too much work to get to the same point. So I think this could be fine moving forward. The only thing, people on Twitter were very receptive. They're like, this is a positive thing, but we'll see what happens after like day 1. People are like, this is amazing, 3-hour Dark Souls video. And day 2, they're like, where's my Dark Souls video? And I'm like, you ate the whole thing on day 1.
So this is just some new tech for you. When I went and did the reruns for Demon Souls, if you ever get to the point where you're like, all right, I got to do it, but Twitch is broken, there's a program. It's like DX. I can look it up, but there's a
DX Story.
No, it's like something like, I'll come up with it and I'll mention it in the next episode. But because I probably spent 2 hours researching, executing, and seeing what worked, because I needed to chop up local Demon Souls VODs, and it's like you just chop it and it renders in like 3 minutes. So it's not like you don't have to go
Really?
Yeah, you don't have to go into Premiere and do this. It's that you type in the time codes and it rips it, and it works really well. So like if you get to that point, and then what I'll do, I'll probably tweet out the name of the program too. Just I don't have it offhand, but it took me a while to find it. It's open source and it worked really well. So that's, you know, because I like to take a VOD file, say it's 10, 12 gigabytes or even more, and to chop it up, you're talking, you know, the editing isn't a big deal, but the rendering, you're talking about what, 30 minutes every 30 minutes, you got to go back and redo it. So all that kind of stuff, I mean, I don't know what's behind the curtain stuff, but all that kind of stuff, I mean, definitely adds up, especially when you're trying to like maximize your time.
It sucks a lot of time. Yeah. I mean, and even making like, you know, making 6 thumbnails instead of 1 thumbnail, even if it only takes 2 minutes a thumbnail, you know, then you multiply that by, you know, Dark Souls, Unity, NLSS's admittedly don't, but they still take time to post the VOD. Like you're maybe pulling like an extra hour or 2 a week that previously you didn't have. And, you know, when it's tight, that's a good hour. It's important to have that hour.
Yeah. And then I'm my end with this, because I went through reversal, and I probably think 2 years ago, I used to just upload the entire VOD, and I'm like, I reverse engineered it and I did it the other way, because I'm like, man, if you only want to watch Tarkov, you know, then you don't have to go through and click it. And then also I thought if I chop up the VODs for like Tarkov for 51 games, there's a chance to get some discoverability on YouTube versus like someone types in the Dan Giesling Show or the NLSS, you know, they're looking for you, versus someone types in 51 games or Dark Souls 2, you may be able to catch a few, you know, new people on that end of things. But it'll be interesting to follow up with you in a couple months, and like if there is a change, and see, because you got to imagine there's going to be a change, right?
There's
like,
positives and negatives to it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that the average watch time is going to be like, I mean, it's a 3-hour video, right? So the average watch time is probably going to be like, I don't know, 25% at most, versus like a half-hour video would probably be at like 50 or 60. But you know, that stuff is like, I don't know about you, but I can, you have it differently because you have 2 channels. But like, I look at the bespoke recordings that I make specifically for YouTube. That's like the main, that's 80%, 90% of the work. The Twitch stuff is just like, I don't care if it makes 0 money. It's nice that it is a passive revenue stream, more or less. But like, that's more, the reason I post those is because people are like, I want them on YouTube.
Yeah.
If I in my head, I'm like, you should just go watch it on Twitch. It's been up there for like 4 days. But because enough people asked me to put it on YouTube, and, you know, the view counts for the videos are good, which means that people like to watch them on YouTube, then I port them over almost as like it's not really a loss leader because it doesn't cost me anything, but you know, it's just like a nice PR thing, basically.
Yeah, no, that was my take on it, is that I know that watching the Twitch VODs on Twitch can be cumbersome, especially like clicking around, and admittedly, I think they've gotten better. Like they've tried to make it more and more friendly. But the whole reason I started it was just like, wasn't to generate revenue or anything. Like, it was just to make it as easy as possible. If someone missed a show and they like missed a Dark Souls segment or they just can go and catch up without having to be like, oh, where do I click on the VOD? And I'm kind of with you. It's not necessarily a loss leader, but it's a nice feature or a nice library to offer, you know, the community that, you know, it's kind of like what we talked about. At least one of the pillars is like frictionless as possible. If someone wants to watch it on YouTube, it's there. If someone wants to watch it on Twitch, it's there. If someone wants to watch it on Ryan Gary's Byte account, it's not going to be there.
It's not going to be there unless it's 6 seconds long.
So that's good. So you had a good W. L's were, you know, very, very mechanical.
Yeah, exactly. No spiritual L's where I was like, I want to quit. How about you?
The W side, it's like, I feel like we go in these cycles. So this week on YouTube, I'm going to run 4 series. Like 4 exclusive series.
And then in 2 weeks, it'll be like, I'm pinched on time. So I got, yeah.
But it's like, so Spelunky's going really good. Neon Abyss is going really good. Golden Goblet's not going anywhere. And then it's like Trackmania. I'm like, let me just see this week, because it was so disproportionate. It's like, to not do it would be, on my end, would be like, hey, there's an opportunity. I can't tell you that people are still going to want to watch it, but to even not put myself in a position to test it and see, even at the expense of like maybe, you know, some sleep, I'm willing to do that. Now, am I willing to run 4 series for the next 4 months. I don't know. It depends on how good it is. But like, it's a good problem to have, right? It's not like, you're mining and be like, oh, I can't, like, what's going to work on YouTube? It's like, that's kind of like something to watch, but I'm going to just push it and get it done forehead. And I think it also puts more heat on me to continue to like get up early, because that's the only time there is to do it. And I'd say the other W is, I did a duo stream with Grand Pooh Bear, someone that I'd never streamed with before. And I think anytime you do that, like, it's a coin toss, right? Like, I could stream with you, Melf, and Apollo, and like, what's going to happen. Like, we're having a good time. There's no like awkward moments. But anytime you stream with someone new, there's this element of like, all right, like, I like the person, we get along, but can you put a show on together? And I think it went really well. And because there's sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had this, and I think sometimes, I mean, you're in a different position than me. I think, there's a lot of people that, I don't know how to say it, that are working their way, like they really want to stream with you. You know what I mean? Like, and so, and I don't know, we could talk about it, I'm sure, depending on your level of comfort, but I feel like a year or so ago, you're kind of like, you didn't put a moratorium on bringing new people in, but you're like, hey, like, I'm good. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I remember there was something specifically put in the back channel, and you're like, I'm good. Do you remember?
I don't know if I said I'm good.
Not in that way, not in like a pompous way, but just.
Yeah. Well, okay. So like, I mean, because this is a show where we speak frankly about this stuff, there was like, maybe 2013. There's me, who has like a decent sized YouTube audience, and also we're streaming. And then I stream with like a couple of other people on the regular. Over the course of like, I don't know, maybe like 6 months or a year, everybody that I stream with starts streaming with their own group of people, So there's like 5 people in group A, 7 people in group B. And then like, it just snowballs into like kind of this, I don't want to call it a monster, because that's like pretty rude, but you know what I mean? Like it grows exponentially.
It's like a tree.
Yeah, exactly. And the tree is a good metaphor, because like from an analytics standpoint, the trees, the branches had leaves. They were doing their own stuff, but there's still only like one root. Like it was sucking up the nutrients from the ground, but it was all coming from my YouTube audience, is essentially what it came down to. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, not just for like survival, but it's just becoming impractical for everybody when like this one source of audience is now being spread to 8 people and then 24 people. And all of a sudden now there's like 100 people. And I was just like, we gotta cut it down. So basically that's what happened, is it kind of came down to a level of like, there's a few people I want to work with, but almost everybody that you work with, if you work with them regularly, you have to answer for them and also answer for everybody that they've ever worked with and everything they've ever tweeted and every opinion that they've ever said on a podcast and yada, yada, yada. So I was kind of like, we have a source of people that like watching this stuff, and we got a group of people that like to be a part of the stuff that we do. And I think that's, if more people filter in and out, that's okay. But I kind of stopped seeking out like active promotion with other streamers for sure.
Yeah, and like, I'm glad he clarified it, because it wasn't, Ryan is always like,
it wasn't like, get out, you're not bringing in enough new viewers, get out of here.
No, it was just like, hey, there's a lot going on, and for you, like, you got to manage the cast, right? It's not like it's easy to like pop in and pop out, to be like a guy like, yeah, and I'm not sure I'll pop on for 30 minutes, but you got to manage all that. So I guess. So, and I think the other side of it too, and I'll speak for this, and I don't think I've told you this privately, and I'm not going to say names or anything, but it rubs me the wrong way, is like, in the past couple of years, I've got a message or two from people that are like, have sizable audiences, and it's either like, hey, will you tell Ryan I want to stream with him, or tell Ryan this for me? And I'm like I don't, and like, I barely know this person, and this isn't like Jimmy Cloud X75 on YouTube. This is like, I'm like, if you're trying to like connect with people, like, that's not the way to do it. Number one, on my end, it's like, and I don't get insulted. I get it. I just like,
it is insulting though.
But like, I see it. I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to do. But then immediately, like, I don't want to work with someone like that. Like it, and then number two, I'm like, I'm gonna slide the message around and be like, yo, here's what this individual did. Like, take the information, whatever you want with it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be flattered either. I'm gonna be like, why did you try to, I don't know, like sidle into the interaction?
Yeah, and it's like, and it's such a weird thing to talk about because we're all friends, but it's also like we have a working relationship. So, and it didn't even strike me until you said something. It's like, you have to deal with, hey, when is Apollo coming on, or when is Melf coming on, or like, did you hear what Apollo said about putting nutmeg in oregano, and he's not even on the show. So it's like I mean, you're not responsible for everyone, but you still have to answer to a lot of stuff, and that's, I mean, like you make, and I don't want to say you make one wrong decision because that's not the case, but like, if someone's doing something wrong and they were on your show or a regular, you're like, I mean, you're going to have to make a statement about it.
100%. Yeah.
So to come full circle, I guess it's like, I mean, and I don't know your take on it because we haven't talked about it a ton, but everyone that, like you and I met through Mathis, but it wasn't like inorganic. It was Mathis's like pulling the strings. But have you ever is there anyone out there that you would, and you have to put names, that you would work with, but don't because you don't want to reach out, or like how do you approach that?
I think it's tough. And there was probably a time like a lot earlier where I would have, because I think like from an analytics standpoint, it can be a good way to grow your channel and your audience if you've got like that you have an audience that likes watching you. Graham Pooh Bear obviously has an audience that likes watching him. If your personalities vibe on the show, then it could be a win-win for everybody. I think I'm too much, and it sounds flattering, but I actually think maybe it's a bit of a personality flaw, or it has pluses and minuses. I think I'm too much of a number one. Like I want to pivot the direction of the show. I want to, even just like unconsciously in conversations, like I want to steer it where I want it to go. I don't necessarily want to be part of an ensemble cast that is like governing by committee. So I have like times when I've been on like Twitch Rivals and stuff like that, and I join other people's calls. I'm trying to fit in and to make it fun for everybody. But there are times like just clashing Twitch culture, like someone will be shouting into their microphone like they're 11 years old and like their audience is going nuts, and I'm like, man, this is this is not like it's fine, like different people have different things they like to watch, but I'm like, man, we don't vibe at all on this level.
No, and I think it's extremely self-aware, right? So you've been in positions where you're like, oh, you tried it, and you're like, I'm good, like,
yeah,
and I think also it's probably like a different scenario for you too, because I don't want to say you don't have to do it. That's not the right word, but you're in a position where you're like, if you do it and it happens, cool. But it's not like, it's not like a priority. And I don't want to say it's not a priority on my end either. But it's like when you meet people and you're like, oh, this would be fun to try this, then you do it. But I also think it's a little bit different too, because you run a show that is for the most part, 2/3, it's centered around a cast. Where it's like people are like, oh, if you talk to Ryan, you're probably going to be on the show at some point if you, if it fits. Whereas like mine, it's like most of the time it's just like solo.
Right.
Do you see that dynamic shifting?
Not shifting necessarily, but I'm becoming much more protective of the solo time. Like I'm glad we got a solid Monday show. We got a solid Wednesday show with people that come on regularly. But I'm like, I do value the solo time a lot because I don't know, it's just a lot easier to run a show by yourself where you choose what you want to play, or like you can look at what the audience wants and be like, I don't even have to ask anybody else what we're going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm like, oh, this would be great. I know that this would crush if I played it today. I don't have to talk to 3 other people and be like, yo guys, buy this $60 game. I can start the stream 2 hours early if I wanted to, if I had the free time. So like, I like the banter is something that I think is almost completely unique on Twitch. I very rarely tune into another stream. I mean, if I'm speaking like a jerk,
jerk it up.
There's I feel like there's like two kinds of streams you see a lot of on Twitch. One is solo content, one is group content. Solo content, sometimes very entertaining, sometimes great gameplay.
Click.
Yes, exactly. And then for the multiplayer content, and there are exceptions, like watching like the multiplayer stuff that Apollo and Justin have done with Project Winter, or even like when they played Gary's mod and stuff like that, I think is fun. But a lot of it is kind of like the exact opposite of the solo content that I don't like, which is where they just scream endlessly about everything and make like the most obvious double entendre jokes. And I'm like, you're 40 years old and that's the joke you chose to make here. So I think that we have like a good, like a unique value proposition on Twitch, where it's kind of like a show where the banter is like funny, honestly, compared to a lot of it. So I would never want to compromise that, but I also I value that solo time for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's got to be like, I kind of feel that way a little. Like I feel the same way about solo shows, but oddly enough, I feel that way like when we're in a groove with Unity. It's like you just show up and you don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, right? Like it's not like, you know, not during the dark ages when we're like, hey, what are we playing this week? And we're just like,
show starts in 15 minutes. What are we gonna play?
But I feel like we've been doing it for so long where like, you know what everyone's going to bring to the table. And you're like, I feel that way just showing up there, where it's like almost feel as it's a completely different vibe than doing a solo show, but there's not a lot of unknown variables. Like, you know what Austin's going to bring, you know what Mouse can bring, you know what you're going to bring. And then, you know, okay, in the situation when we get a great win, X is going to happen. If things get a little dicey in the middle, we either lean on banter or we got to fight this. But it's just, there's a lot of different variables, but we're all understanding of it. But I guess to wrap up like the collaboration thing is like, you just, for me, I just don't know, right? Like you're like, all right, let's try it and let's do it. And sometimes it goes well, and then sometimes like even if you think it goes well, but internally you're like, okay, like that was fun, but I probably won't do it again. Then it's like, all right, how do you breach that situation when it comes up again? You know, and especially if the community is like, say, hey, when is X person coming back? And so I think
you just say it. It's Hafu.
But so it's like, it's one of the kind of the back end side of things that I think people don't, may not be understand or because they don't deal with it. It's just how you decide who and when to work with. And I'm sure there's been situations for you when you're like, okay, hey, look, this person is in this same lane as me. We don't really know each other. But I feel like for me on my end, I'm willing to like make that jump and like connect with that person. And like I can like feel it, right? Like so like for example, Tarkov. Like I started streaming with Deadly Slob not because I'm like, oh, let me stream with Deadly Slob. I started watching while I was working to like get better at Tarkov. And then you kind of connect that way. But it wasn't like, but that was like a jump because I didn't know him. It's not like he's, I met him through you or through Melf or anyone like that. So I don't know. I just feel like I'm willing, and also like if I connect with someone, a lot of the times on my end, it may be through Twitter, like, oh, this person follows me, or oh, this person showed up in chat. To me, that's always like, all right, hey, let me see how this person interacts and how they do stuff. So I don't know. I always look for like natural, organic stuff like that, and I'm willing to like take an L if like it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the most part, and I'm sure you can probably concur, like most people you work with are just really nice and
it just goes fine. Yeah. And like I don't avoid working with people for like interpersonal dispute issues. It's just like I don't know. I feel like we're on like opposites here, and I mean I'm just gonna like play the martyr. I feel like people don't think about it from my perspective a lot. They're like most streamers, like 90% of their content is solo, 10% is multiplayer. We really started on my channel from a position where like 100% of the content was multiplayer, and we're slowly clawing back a little single player time. But every time we create some single player space by cutting multiplayer stuff, we go through the same community friction that we go through, the time and time again. where it's like, is this, Rob hasn't been on the Wednesday show in 2 weeks. Do they still talk? And we're working on stuff like that where, I think the community has better boundaries now. And we've done a good job of changing like the rules and the culture surrounding that sort of stuff. But I do think whenever people, I don't think they see it from my perspective when they're like, when will this person be on the show? And I like the Hafu one in particular. I'm like, she streams like 10 hours a day doing her own stuff. Like it's really not something where I'm going to be like, oh, hey, Hafu, when your stream's done, can you be on my stream for 3 hours? I think people would really like it. She's busy. She's got her own stuff going on. So, I mean, that's my perspective on this subject where I'm like, I feel like I have to fight a little bit more than other streamers to get that solo content.
Yeah, you know what? And it makes sense too. The way you laid it out is because you started inversely. Like where on my end, it's like, hey, everyone expects a solo show, and it's really good because it's like, oh, what a bonus! Like you're with someone else, and it's not like, oh, hey, you're trying to do more solo stuff. Give me more multi. I know that's not what the community says.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, but at the same time, like just to give you credit and to gas you up. Like I've seen a noticeable change in your community and how things are handled. Like you go on the Reddit now and you're like, you don't have to worry about like shots being fired at X person. It's just like, it's good. And in your chat, like, I don't know about you, I'll speak for your chat, but like, it seemed like it's been really good lately. Like
it's been a lot better for sure. It's been much, much better.
Which is good, but it doesn't change overnight. But I'm sure we can go back to the beginning of Check the Wire episode 1. And it probably was a lot different than it is now, So, chat, good job. So to pivot to my L of the week is that my real life business, what I do, like real life, got really busy, and so, and I tell people that the easiest way to find out like my level of busyness is the first thing that drops off for me is like social media, so like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Posting on not on YouTube, but like on the YouTube community side of things or Discord. And so like that's kind of the conversation that I have is like distribution versus creation, right? So meaning that I'll never, like, even if things get really busy, I won't miss Twitch, I won't miss posting YouTube videos, but the distribution side of things, the side that allow you to like lever to grow, like TikTok, however small or big, that stuff falls off. And so I wanted to bring up the topic for you is like, do you feel the same way as like, all right, if you got to yeet one, are you always yeeting distribution over creation when you get super busy?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. The answer is definitely yes for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, even like, I wasn't even that busy, but I didn't post a TikTok for like 2 weeks. I posted one this morning, so we'll see how it goes. But we've talked about it before. I feel like self-promotion in this realm is kind of hard. I feel like it's really hard to get people to people that you all, maybe this is a better way to describe it. I think if there are people that already enjoy your content but missed out on a piece of content, or maybe they stopped, because I see people all the time that are like, I didn't watch Trackmania because I thought that racing games were a snooze. But then I finally watched the last episode of The Golden Goblet, and I went back and watched all of them because it was so exciting. So for me, that's a situation where I look at that and go, I could do a better job of marketing my existing content to people that already like me, but maybe decided, like, for whatever reason, oh, this isn't good. I could be like, no, it's good. Or like post a great clip from Unity and be like, people, because there's a huge amount of people, even though Warzone is beloved and the Unity stuff is doing really well, there's a huge amount of people who are like, I refuse to watch anything Call of Duty related. But then if you hit them, at the right time with a clip that makes them laugh, then that might get them involved. So, but that being said, yeah, I think like production is always number one for me. And I already do like very, very little promotions, but that's usually the first thing to fall off.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm kind of the analogy I had in my head is like, if you're serving hamburgers, you take care of the people that are in the restaurant before you start like spending money on flyers and doing all that stuff. So I don't know, but I don't underestimate the power of like, hey, you could make 10 videos, and we talk about this all the time, but if you took like an hour of that time away from making 10 videos and making 9 and doing some social stuff, that's where I go back and forth. As I realize, like, I don't feel like the distribution is less important than creation. But when it comes down to like push come to shove, like you want to be able to do it all. But for me, that's what kind of falls off. And I think what was different for me as I move forward is I don't want to say I'm beating up myself less about it, but I'm like, like, hey, look, I'm coming to this self-awareness. Like, if that has to happen for you to continue to, have a long-term sustainable life, then it's okay. Like a week won't, if you don't post a week on wherever, Twitter, or Instagram, it's not going to kill your channel. If you don't do it for like 6 months, then you're not helping yourself. But I don't look at it as like, oh, I missed a week of being active on social media. I don't look at that as like, oh, it's devastating to the future of the channel, the community. But it is something I still think about.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing is, I mean, I wouldn't beat yourself up over it for that, because I think both of us have the same kind of impression that, working, even if you work, we both work a lot, but even if you worked 1 hour less a day than maybe you were capable of, but it extended the time until you got burnt out by like another 9 months or 12 months or something like that, that is gonna, there's like compound interest on that is gonna pay dividends for you, right? Like when streamers stream 14 hours a day for 20 days in a row, that most of the time there's also going to be like a month where they're like, I'm not going live today because I feel like crap. And I'm like, yeah, I would too. Like it did, without a doubt. But the other thing is, I think like the marketing lever, and this is just my hunch, it's obviously not all of the marketing pieces are created equal. Like a tweet with a clip from a stream might do okay, and then a tweet that's like, hey, watch this, is probably not going to do that well, but it's going to do something. But the real like wins are the stuff that you post, like the best clips from June and stuff like that. And that's really like, I would love to do more content like that, that's like, it's a marriage of the content and the marketing, because people go, hey, this is a greatest hits, so it's awesome to begin with, it's like the best content. But then secondarily, for people that have never watched some of this stuff, like maybe they've only watched you on YouTube, they've never watched your stream, they'll watch that and be like, oh, I'm way more likely to watch the stream now. And for people that have never seen you before at all, it's like a jumping off point where if they click on that video, they're going to be like, oh, this guy, it makes you look funnier than you are. Not to be rude, it makes me look funnier than I am too, but it's like, it's only hits, it's only bangers. So I think maybe, and you got me thinking now, I'm not suggesting this for you necessarily, but you got me thinking like, maybe instead of thinking of it as an obligation, like, oh, I've got to post a TikTok a day, or, oh, I've got to have like, I've got to tweet stuff to try to like bump the numbers on this, maybe thinking of more like marriages between the two that I could do. Like maybe you could take like the best of this series that people didn't watch, the best of, you get the idea.
Yeah, no, but that's good. Like that's like, I'm like, oh, this needs to be done, because it's like, if someone, like if I tweet out, hey, watch my Spelunky video, or hey, this is a really good Spelunky video, maybe someone's gonna watch it, but probably not, Yeah. But like, hey, check out these top, the best top 10 deaths in Spelunky. If you're just a fan of Spelunky, you're probably gonna, if you see it, you're probably gonna watch at least the first one before you X out of the video. Yeah. No, but it's something worth, thinking about. So outside of that, I'd say another small W, which we won't get, it's just a small little things. I bought the Spelunky book, which did you read it or no?
No, it's Nick Sutner wrote it, right?
No, it's actually, it says Derek Yu on it. It may
really?
Yeah. Oh. It's like a little white book with an eggplant on the cover.
Yeah, I know I know what you're talking about, like boss fight books or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and I'm really, really enjoying it because it's like, it talks, and I think you would like it. Do you read or no?
I know how, yeah.
No, but do you like do you like Kindle or anything like that or not?
I do on occasion, yeah.
It's really, I think you'd like, because it talks about like the programming and design without being too DAE. So it's like something for me, and the way I leave it is I use it as like, not a sleep aid, because the book's really good, but I notice like I can get like 5 or 6 pages and then I'm out. But I look forward to those 5 or 6 pages, which allows me to like move the needle to go to sleep earlier, to wake up at 5:30, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I'm putting that out there in the ether for people that are looking for a good book and you like Spelunky. It's a good book. But with that being said, we're gonna take a few live Q&As before we yeet on out of here. And this was from last week. This is from Kirks on Twitch. It says, "Are either of you excited about this new gen of consoles?"
Yes and no. For me, it's kind of like, it's almost more symbolic, because I'm like, when the last gen came out, not Switch, but like the Wii U and the PS4 and the Xbox One, I was like, I'm a part of the industry, I gotta get these, right? And I almost see it like it's like another badge for me of seniority that I survived in the marketplace until another generation came out. So I was, for me, it's less like, oh, I'm really excited for the PS5. I would say like 100% chance we're going to be angling for a PS5. The Xbox Series One, Xbox New, whatever, maybe. Like, it depends how the optics look after it comes out. If it has like a great lineup, or it's considered like technically superior, then maybe. But I'm not really excited for what it means for the industry. But for me, I'm like, hey, that's like made it another clip.
No. So for me, on my end, as soon as I saw Demon Souls remake, I'm like, that's the only reason I need to buy a PS. Like, honestly, before that, I'm like, it's a cool console. NBA 2K looks like super real, but when I saw Demon Souls, I'm like, all right, well, that answered that question. So that's my level of excitement on that one. This is another one from last week. This is from Bob the Coil. It says, has either of you ever considered turning off comments for a series or single video? If so, why?
No. Basically, I feel, and it's controversial, I feel like if you operate in the space on YouTube where you get like a ton of personal toxicity, I feel like it could be relevant. Like, if all of the comments are just like literal personal attacks, and we know there's YouTube channels like that people only hate watch, I could totally see it. I could see turning it off. For everybody else, which is probably like 99.5% of creators, anytime comments are turned off, I see it as like you've surrendered, basically. Like, not only you're saying like, I don't want to see this, which I think is not great most of the time. Secondarily, you're kind of making the content worse for viewers. Even if like the comments are not great, I think I always scroll down to read comments on a video I'm watching to see how people are talking about it. So, if I went to somebody's channel and they disabled comments, I would probably be less likely to go back in the future. And I think, like, I don't know. I think the third surrender, I guess, is that you've given up on trying to like reform the way that the audience interacts with you. So I get annoyed at backseating a lot. And in particular, like, I mean, on Twitch, I like it, but on YouTube, it's just frustrating because it's already been recorded and you can't go back in time, to fix it. But like, the thing I get annoyed by is not that people are backseating, is that it's often phrased in like the most insulting way possible. And then that's the part that gets to you. But I've never considered turning off the comments. I would rather kill a series than turn off the comments, for sure.
No, sorry. I just never thought it'd talk about like turning off comments is surrendering, but it makes sense. On my end, like, I look at the comments as like the lifeblood, right? So if like, I almost like to keep me on task too. Like if I have like a rant that's like, I'm sure I had one recently, like that goes off the deep end. Like, I talked about not liking peas, like green peas, and just how they're the worst thing. It's like, I see a lot of heat coming from that. I'm like, okay, that's good. Like, now that's like something I can play off of, or people that have a strong opinion on, or could be something like, hey, at like 15:37 in the video, here's something you can learn from it. And so for me, I look at it as like it's just a straight guide of what people want to see, or more of or less of. And I use it like that. And the direction I thought you were going to take, and you didn't, you're going to say like, hey, like, you turn it off because like you're the all-knowing one, meaning that, hey, I'm not going to listen to what the comments are saying. They don't know what they want or whatever. But to answer the question succinctly, no, I cherish, like, even like even I won't call them toxic, but even those shot, like someone takes a shot at me and I'm like, I still like it. I'm like, thanks for leaving the comment. And then the other thing that plays in for me on my series is a lot of almost every video, I have the last video up with the comments. And like, if there's a dead moment, like I'm reading the comments and it keeps things moving. Where like you, I mean, you're the unicorn where you can talk about a cardboard
just
box.
Keeps coming. Yeah.
All right, we'll take two more and then we'll wrap it up here. It says Stanley Tactical Radio says, what changed Ryan's mind about having a Discord? Do you have a Discord?
Yeah, it's like it's soft launched right now.
What?
So I didn't know you could do this.
I didn't get the soft invite. Where was?
I can give you the soft invite.
Okay, yeah.
So here's the reasoning for the Discord, and for context, we started working on it maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So around the time I got new mods, or more mods, I should say, on Twitch, we got the mods together and we're like, we should make a Discord. Really, here's the reason. Like, I think that, you know, with all the stuff that happened in the industry, particularly over the past month, we realized that like the more I think that the tendency in the past has been like, I don't want to see any of the community interaction. And also I'm like, why are you guys talking to each other 12 hours a day just because you all happen to enjoy the same person's videos? Like that's not a foundation that you can build on. Now I've come to accept that that's just the way it is. So probably a more mature approach to community management, instead of washing our hands of it and being like, whatever happens, you know, out of sight, out of mind. We're like, we should make an official one so that we can actually influence the way that the community behaves with one another. And so there's stuff that happens, you know, within the context of like these people getting together and talking because they like my stuff. We actually have the ability to have, you know, some control over it. So we can make sure, you know, that people aren't being toxic or, you know, you get the, you've been in Discords before.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Was there?
So we launched it with like, I didn't know you could do this, but we launched like an invite that I think it allowed 150 or 100 people to get in.
Oh, cool.
Which I didn't even know you could do. So we got like 100 people in there, and mostly that was just to check if the permissions were set properly and people could see what they wanted to see and can't see what we don't want them to see, like the mod channels and etc. So probably this week we're gonna link it with Twitch, which is just like a one-click button. I mean, you got your setup. So, but once we want to make sure that it's
when you open the floodgates,
because as soon as you click that button, it's gonna be like zzz. So I think we're basically there and could probably launch it whenever this week. But yeah, that's the reasoning, is that I think it's better for us to have a more active hand in community management.
Was there a single moment where you're like, all right, like it's not necessarily something I envisioned, but it's time to do it?
Well, it was mostly like, I mean, all the stuff that blew up on Twitter about like, you know, communities and like improprieties and harassment and et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, and people have said like, and this is, we've oscillated. And I feel like in 2013, it was like, I hate the community. I love the community. Now we're like, we finally got it to like, there's variance, but I'm on the level. But people are always like, you know, when you get annoyed with the subreddit, you should just stop going to the subreddit. But I really think that's actually the exact wrong way to do it. Because I out of a sense of, I don't know, like, you know, when you look at a train wreck and you're like, I can't look away, or a car crash or something, like I go to other content creators subreddits where the creators don't visit, and I'm like, this is Hades. Like, this is the underworld. I think that maintaining a presence and then fighting back against the true insanity and toxicity that can pop up is like, I think you have like an obligation to do it if you have the time, at least. So it was more of like a general sentiment where we're at the point where it was like, you know, I resent feeling like I have to do it, because I think you and I are in the same boat where we're like, we play games on the internet, and then whenever there's drama surrounding it, I'm like, I sit at my desk, I record like 4 videos or 6 videos, and I stream a little bit, and then like I finish work and somebody is like, there's a fight over 2 people that like the content, and I'm like, why do I have to deal with your fight? Just because like 6 years ago you both met each other because you liked watching me play Isaac. But I do think that's like I wouldn't say it's immature, but I think the more mature decision is to like actually actively take a role. And I do want to, I know I've been talking way too long, but like really, I just got to give it up to the moderators because I basically told them like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't want to do it. So I'm giving you the option to be a part of it, but also is going to suck. And you're probably going to be annoyed with me because, you know, there will be times where I'm like, don't bring this to me, just do it. So they're really taking all the heat on that.
And you didn't ask for it, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. The best, like, you know, because we've had ours running for a while. Best thing I feel like I've done is, number one, you have the right mods. Like, you make sure the people that are running it. Number two, just give them like, I think there's like 3 or 4 criteria, and it's like, if A happens, do this. If B, this. And if it gets through those 3 and it's not fixed up, then come to me. And like, I got a text, you know, I have the text platform. I got a text this past weekend, and it's like, man, I was in Discord and so-and-so was being a creep. And I immediately respond, I'm like, who is it? Da, 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 da. And they're like, oh, well, it was on Instagram. I'm like, I can't do anything about that. But like, you know, but that was my antenna was up when I saw Discord and creep. I'm like, that's super rare and doesn't happen. So let me get on top of it. But no, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. That's something I want to check back in with you in a couple weeks, because it's like, it's fun, and it'll see how like yours evolves and your level of involvement and what you do with it. But you know, on my end, like, I think I'm like you from the start. We set it up in a way that was like, it was designed so that if something bad happened or something that people not treating each other, they're gone. So it'll be, I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for you, but I think we both know how it's going to play out. All right. Then last one is, this from K Mill. It says, both you and Ryan check out new releases, but both have complained about lack of new releases. I have not, but
I have.
Okay. Ryan has.
Yeah. Constantly.
It says, why not check out highly requested older games? Like, this must be just directly.
Yes, this is a me question. I can tell.
I.e. Dishonored 2. I should have read the full question.
No, it's okay. I mean, it comes up a lot. Here's the thing. I don't think it's we've talked about it specifically last week. I don't want Northern Lion Tries to be a series where we reach every single day just to have a video. Like, I've structured the series, and this is high-minded, like, abstract thinking. I think you could play, you know, Super Mario World and make it interesting if you did it the right way. But the purpose of the series is not just to be like, hey, this game that everybody loves, I played it and I like it too. Like, I find that content kind of a little too easy, if that makes sense. Or even just, I find it valueless outside of the entertainment of the actual like content of the video itself. So it's like, for me, if there's no games that are, you know, appropriate for Northern Lion Tries, I would rather let it sit a day than be like, we're playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, because I know that people are going to be like, this game's great, you know? That's not what I see the purpose of the series being.
As a little YouTube monetization egg on your shoulder, though, could you imagine the views on a Northern Lion Tries Zelda Breath of the Wild?
I think it would be okay.
Really?
Like, honestly, I don't think, in my experience, you would think that stuff would kill, but for me, the stuff that kills is more like weird indie games that are either very good, like something like I haven't looked at the analytics on Neon Abyss, but my expectation would be Neon Abyss is a great looking roguelite with some hype behind it, so it probably outperformed. And then the other one would be stuff like Splinter Steel. That's just like totally unique, or like that Japanese game, Kukiyomi, where you try to just like be as polite as possible in all these mini games. So like that stuff kills for me. When I do stuff like, you know, like I did a Northern Lion Tries of Death Stranding because it came out on PC. It did fine, but you would think like because 10 million people know about that game, it would skyrocket, but it just does. They tend to just do okay.
Did you drop your Epic creator code in the video though?
I didn't, but
so
because I think they're like pseudo reviews. So I feel like being like, hey, and if you pick it up on the Epic Store, use my creator code. That's a bridge I'm unwilling to cross.
Why?
For the time being, because I think it gives the impression that you would be more positive towards the game, because if you're more positive, more people would buy it, and then you get more of a kickback.
But what if you did it, if you drop your code only for games you liked and you're like, oh, this game on Epic Stores, and you're like, don't leave your creator code for that.
But it's still like, you know, it sends the message that you would be more likely to say that you like it in order to, you know what I mean? Like you have an incentive at that point to say that you like it because you benefit financially, or you could benefit financially.
I understand. Let me ask you this just for devil's advocacy. If there's someone at the end of your video that loved your video and is buying it anyways,
yes,
wouldn't you want them to use your code?
If not really.
Oh, really?
I mean, if they thought about it independently, sure. But I don't know. I feel like it's a little, it takes the video from like almost a pure, the video is made, yes, for the ad revenue, but for the entertainment value and for a little infotainment maybe as well. It takes it from that to be like, is this now all designed to package that sell at the end where you pimp your creator code?
Yeah, but I don't think anyone would. I mean, I'm just playing super devil's advocate. I don't think anyone would watch one of your videos and be like, oh, this was the greatest swindling of all time to get me to type in Northernlion in the Epic creator code. But I understand. It's like you have like a journalistic integrity, I guess you could say, about how you do things. Is that, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I would say that's fair. I try to avoid the appearance of impropriety, at least. I like, if I was doing a series on Death Stranding, I wouldn't mind reminding people, because it's like an implicit, like, hey, you know, I like the game enough that I'm putting 40 of my own hours into it for this. And the purpose of a series is not to inform people whether or not something is like maybe worth buying or not worth buying. But you know, I mean, I just feel like if I was watching somebody else's like 15-minute video on Death Stranding and they were like super positive, and then at the end of it they were like, by the way, use creator code JASKY, I would be like, you're probably being honest. But at the same, even subconsciously, I wonder if there's not a little part of you that's like, if I am a little bit more in the positive direction, I could stand the profit off of this.
See, I think that's where you just be like me. You walk the razor's edge of saying, I will tell you whether this is good or bad. And if it's good, I'll tell you. And if it's bad, then use the code. If it's bad, don't buy this game, but use my code when you buy Fortnite bucks. So speaking of bad games, that being said, we're going to be getting out of here, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you guys next. The audio will be live next Tuesday on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes. You could check out the live video on youtube.com/Northernlion. Thank you guys so much for the 445 iTunes rating. We're knocking on the door of Ryan Gary's favorite number. What's your favorite number, Ryan? Do you have
569?
Is it?
I don't know.
What's your jersey?
I don't have a favorite number.
If you got a hockey jersey, it's blank. What you putting?
Sure, let's go 40.
40. That's a number, Sean Kemp. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys next week and appreciate all the support. Later, guys.